wants to write a book about manly men doing manly things. Of a man writing a book about the spiritual journey of a woman who was met with some kind of, who do you think you are to do that kind of stuff? But I felt very serious about it. So Stephanie was doing some powerful work of her own, and I reached out to 3 other women, worked a group out. I would write a little bit, they would look at it, we would touch it up here, we would touch it up there. Stephanie would look at it, say yay or nay, and we kind of come up with this book and put it all out. And it's been very well received for a lot of reasons. The whole premise of it is that the world is too busy today. If you look at that picture and how busy it is, and all of these people, and what she's thinking about, and what are they dealing with, and what's he dealing with, and you got to react to this sign or that sign, and there's a lot of information coming in all the time. We're all processing, every person is processing this kind of information through a set of glasses that are tinted with the manner in which they were raised, with all of those interactions that they've had with faith, without faith, with their school, with their government, with their family and friends. What they've decided is the anchoring point for their spirituality. They get the set of rose-tinted glasses, and they've got to process all of this. But I was doing an interview with Alan Odinson with the Barbarian Lounge podcast when I wrote this book, and it came out. We've been doing this since Steve McNally started Asatru in the United States in 1968. So we've been doing this for decades now. And this seems to be as far as we've gotten. Oh yeah, I was trying to give me some motivation. You're good. I got thinking, there's a lot of people that are trying to make something happen. Everyone is using some kind of outside influence or motivator to move people forward, to get them to do what they think is the right thing. It goes by a lot of different terms, but when we were talking about this in the podcast, the thought came to my mind, how long do we have to get our shit together? I mean, how long do we have to sit around here and try to figure this out and split hairs to develop faith that will move people forward in the world as they need to move forward in the world, not as I need to move forward in the world, as she needs to move forward in the world. And there's a responsibility that goes as a father to this little girl to do a number of things. I found a lot of that in the Lord. We have so many different ideas and reasons for a person to be loyal to an idea. It's created a fantastic environment where anyone may submit a contentious idea online, and it will immediately be followed by a magnificent amount of righteous indignation. And people will confuse that righteous indignation with the spiritual experience. And it's a horrible thing we've got to deal with. It is a digital reflection of all of this noise. And it is preventing us from creating a set of ideals which allowed those random tribes of Germania to defeat the Roman Empire at the Battle of Teutoburg Forest. And we have a lot of pressure in the world today. Every one of these things is something the news or social media or anybody would tell us is important. We're being told this is just the 20th century. But by no stretch of the imagination talks about what we're dealing with now. All of this stuff we're being told is what's valuable, what's important, what's going to move us forward in the world. If we believe what they're saying right here, we can be like everybody else and move right along like sheep. But there's a growing number of people in the world who no longer feel that way. They paying attention to all of this is robbing us of our ability to prepare for mentally, spiritually, and emotionally for those challenges which arise in life that we find ourselves woefully ill-equipped to handle. The death of a family member, the loss of a child, the loss of a parent or a grandparent. And we find ourselves, even though we've got this wall to protect what's in our heart, we might find ourselves in a place where we don't know what to do. and we're supposed to rely on this faith that all of us are sitting here trying to figure out. And we go to social media, and the next thing you know, we find some kind of contentious, righteous indignation to say, oh, no, you can't believe that way. Not because it's going to help you or anything, but because I need to be right. And you hear the great gobbling of the Neckbeard Convention. I'm not talking about using these ancient tales to build dogma. Whenever you say dogma around this group of people in these kinds of rooms, there's an automatic knee-jerk reaction of, hey, I just got screwed over most of my life with dogma, and now you want me to do it again? What I'm talking about is trying to get away from this nonsense so we might look at our ancestral heritage, so we might look at these spiritualities of the past and develop that kind of common sense wisdom our forefathers tried to instill in the young members of the tribe. Kind of common sense, which is in short supply these days. Somehow, some way, we have all ended up here, and there's some of it still in us. If you would imagine millennia ago in the middle of winter, these forefathers, these elders of the tribe would sit around a fire and they would tell these tales to these young children, and in those tales they would find wisdom, they would find an outline for how to act in the tribe. And when we decided that we were going to rely on society alone to tell us and what to do, how to live, and how to act, we're finding all of these people may be saying the same thing. They all might be saying something different. Which one's going to help you move forward? See, with all of this stuff going on, we more and more find ourselves seeking a refuge from this in our mind, and sometimes with the chemicals and medicines we take. These only serve to bandage the open wounds. These only serve to numb the feelings that have wounded our soul complex. We see in this room, the people that gather, the hundreds of people, we see plain as day the lies that are told to us. And many of us believe was our answer. A way of faith which did not require us to conform. A way of faith that kind of took the barriers down that allowed us to feel okay about who and what we are. Many of us come in to become pagans or witches or heathens or Asatru or whatever you want, came into this to do so to find a spiritual path to allow me to be comfortable with me, that I'm okay with who I am right here, right now. The spiritual journey of a woman was written to kind of help expand upon that for women. See, this book is here to help answer some of the questions we repeatedly ask ourselves. Where does the time go? When will it be my time? When will I get my shot? Why did I fail when I knew I could do it? How long do I have to feel this way? Why do I feel so alone? How do I access this enormous potential I feel inside or used to feel inside? How are all these other people doing this? Am I worthless? And this picture right here is an amazing portrait of pain as far as I'm concerned. And I think this is kind of where a lot of women are at in this modern world. You have this grandmother who loves this granddaughter intensely and would give just about anything that she doesn't have to hold her head and cry. Well, who knows what? But it's pain. It's the kind of pain that we would give anything not to see our children suffer. Well, they handle it in a number of ways. These questions and many more gnaw at the subconscious that sure as it all gnaws upon the souls of the most treacherous men. And I think that parallel is there for a number of reasons. That creeping doubt, that black death, that thing that eats on the souls of men who are the breakers of oath, the seducers of men's wives, the murderers, the kinslayers, those creeping doubts at the basis of the axis mundi, of Yggdrasil, those creeping doubts that allow us to stand up straight or stoop over with age. How do we deal with that? The similarity is there for a reason far beyond what we have been capable of understanding up to now. And I think it far surpasses the idea of the Christian devil and hints at the liberation of the individual to a state of being he or she might scarcely imagine. That's a hell of a promise to make. But I think I don't think anymore, I know, because I've seen it happen all over this country. The answer to the relief from this cycle of pain, as portrayed in this picture, is found in our Lord. And it starts with a desire to be free. Once you feel that desire to be free, what destination would you choose? A lot of people want to run away. A lot of people want to go build a commune, or they want to start their own kindred of like-minded individuals, and they want to go here, they want to go there, and no matter where you go, there they are. And I see all too often people who are afraid to open the doors and let other people in that have a challenging notion of what it should be. Because then they might have to change, then they might have to grow. See, there's all kinds of ideas and concepts in this world which draw us off course, just like that first picture. In brief summation, the examples I've used have all been sufficient to spark dialogues which fill personal libraries on the subject. And it drags us away from our focus from a fantastic task we have set right before us, just like the magazines at the checkout line of a grocery store. Right before we spend what little money we have to feed the people that we love, we might look over all these magazines, and this lady has lost some weight, and we should give her some kind of applaud. And this person over here has made a fortune, or this person over here has committed some kind of treachery, or there might be some fantastic faraway destination to inspire our minds, and we might dream of going there. And for a brief moment, you can watch people in the checkout lines of the grocery stores looking all over all the royalty and the celebrities and the faraway places, and dreaming for just a minute about being something more, going somewhere else, or enjoying life in a better way. But first, pay for your groceries, and we're sucked right back into the real world. See, we all feel that yearning which has pushed the boundaries of the world to the breaking point by our ancestors. We feel a desire to be free. We don't know how to do that. And see, let's take a look at where we are. We're like little kids with a puzzle that creates a universe. What part of that puzzle helps us make it through the hard times? See, there comes a time in Asatru, and I've seen it happen with a lot of people, where something really dramatic happens, like they lose a husband, and there's a confusion, there's a disillusionment, there's a disenfranchisement of this path that they're on. Have they wasted more time? Have they been susceptible by their own egos to want to believe something else? They'll go back to buying into that confusion and that mess. Part of it is that we have found that powerful indication that this may indeed be a way of life we would wish to enjoy. And sometimes it may feel as if crisis of faith is upon us. Throw in that tragedy, and it will take far more than the youth to bear us through the hard times. This is where people will take up arms, as it were, against the perceived wrongs of society and Christianity or monotheism, especially if it was a predominant thought process once they adopted Asatru. The curious thing about people that come to these crossroads is that if they find a failure or a weakness in their spirituality, what they will do is they will grab a hold of a political ideology. You can see it again and again. And that is a state of being which is easily fed. The truth of the shortcomings of the orthodoxy abound for the individual who wishes to look. The foundations of pagan beliefs in all three of the monotheistic traditions provides fuel for a self-righteous fire far too many people mistake for spirituality and wisdom. And it is a falsehood which shackles the growth of people. Perhaps even worse than their adherence to monotheism, which tells them to turn the other cheek and accept a fate on bended knee. 3 times in our current era, powerful polytheistic traditions have been corrupted into monotheistic machines. the effect of which we may observe in the Middle East, Southwest Asia, or across Europe on any given day. And in all three cases, the key to maintaining that control is the denigration of women. You think that won't fire some people up? This is a Sumerian seal. It's about 3,500 BC. This is a tree of life. This is a goddess. This is a serpent in a garden. This is the original portrayal of Adam and Eve. And it is the beginning of the vilification of beauty. You see, Yahweh, when he comes around, he's just the visitor in the garden. The serpent is the Lord of that garden. He lives there. He knows everything. The goddess shares knowledge and wisdom with the powerful Lord under this tree and this serpent, and it was twisted around. We have equality here. We have assistance from on high. We have a central point around which our spirituality may revolve. And all of that was changed in basically a geologic instance. And this is the beginning of the vilification of beauty. See, we're not ourselves at all to a society which encourages subservient participations in the jobs. We are also placing ourselves in direct opposition to the teachings which represent the foundation of our own thought process. We have been told our entire lives that Eve was seduced, she made everything bad, she was the evil one, this woman messed it up, this woman took the bite of the apple, this woman led this man astray, this man is the victim, this woman needs to be put in her place, blah, blah, blah. The revolutionary ideals, and see, this is another distraction. The revolutionary ideals of the great do-over Hindu civilization, societal downfall, offers the man who subscribes to them what he hopes is the chance to begin again on his own terms and avoid tackling the issue of changing the man by changing his thoughts. But in no way see these men talking about this, do they see bringing this back up? I see everybody talking about, oh, we'll do it again, it'll be all right. See, to bring the goddess back to the equality with the God represents a very powerful change in everything, and it's a sacrifice of what all of us believe. That kind of change is truly painful. The realization that the ones which you have loved the most in your life may have led you wrong, that they have encouraged a limited life for you because it's all they know. It represents kind of a betrayal, especially for a girl in the world that's going to grow up and be told to understand your place. It's also a powerful catalyst for growth. Growth which is extremely necessary for us to survive, and indeed if we expect to thrive in direct opposition to the remainder of the world that still buys into this nonsense. The adoption of Asatru's way of life extends far beyond any one aspect of our being. It is a breakthrough. It is an awakening which has the potential to inspire a complete man or woman. What kind of husband or father would make his woman look that you're not worthy to be seen by public? It should only be done in private. What you have is not valuable to the world. And that's exactly the message that's being told. And I see in our lore a complete reversal of that. This is a war. For literally centuries, men have waged a war against perceived pagan power, which women have always held. They have been made slaves for pleasure, burned as witches, covered up, silenced, and put in their place. This is out of balance with even the basic laws of nature, much less the interactions of the divine, because men wearing dresses in the desert were afraid. Why? What's so powerful about beauty? What pain have cowardly men imposed upon the future? See this woman in action? This is a terrifying idea. This witch who might be stirring up power, who might be stirring up ideas, who might be engaging in something that these men here are afraid of, as they stone that woman to death, as they hurt this woman. Men dreadfully fear the pain women may cause in their hearts, a pain which no God has the power to alleviate. Pain and fear empower a male ego to take actions which might secure a foothold against the awesome power that women possess. It has resulted in the most grievous of sins as far as I'm concerned. particularly with regards to how a father should raise and care for his daughter. What faith would ask a man to marry off the innocence of his 9-year-old daughter? What fear would drive an entire faith to brutally remove from a young girl that future center of her pleasure? All she knows in this moment right here is that these women who are supposed to raise her and initiate her into the roles of womanhood are causing her irreparable and intense physical pain. Emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual pain is forced upon the girl in the most brutal manner imaginable. It is the extreme, but if we look closely, the same effort to cripple a young girl before she even gets a chance to be a woman. In this world all around us, the small-minded insecurities of men have failed to protect and cherish that which ought to be a part of the most holy. So it is no wonder that it is women who are once again leading this way back to the gods. It is no wonder that these women walking in the feminine products aisle at Walmart. You got birth control on one side, you got you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Where you fit in this world, you're told, no, you can do this, but no, you can't do that. Right? See, but in large part, the damage has already been put out. This is what she is, this is what she belongs. These are the labels she will go by. I can put her neatly in this niche and I'll never have to pay attention to her again. She will be exactly what she's supposed to be. She will be a voting this or voting that. Yet in large part, the expectations of society, which are out of context with their very being, have worn them out. They're tired of being in control all the time, exhausted from the constant complaining that they are not measuring up in some way. Will get you labeled as a whore, a feminazi, a bulldog, spinster, control freak, or animal, or any other of several monikers, which point out in some way that a woman has failed or gone to the extreme to prove who and what she thinks she is. And all you have to do is survive in this world. Actions are taken with the sole purpose of protecting the self from further harm. Memories of emotional distress tint the image of each and every interaction until it becomes ingrained in their being. They operate on autopilot, wondering emotional barriers to protect the seed of beauty each woman possesses. They protect it from the corruption of a society that does not comprehend. Even the attempts to extricate oneself from the complex web of woman must world results in immense loneliness and pain. And it is no wonder Mother's Little Helper is so prominent in today. The difference between men and women can be told in art. Men to be portrayed as vital or portrayed in action. They've got to be moving. They've got to be doing something for their value. Not so with a woman. All she has to do is sit there with a nod, with a smile. Men will conquer kingdoms. Men will go into action to set the world on fire if the right woman smiles in the right way or says the right thing. But if you go in the wrong way, why? You go to some part of the world, Cleopatra Hill will be called all kinds of. You go to this, here we have these beautiful women in this household altar, this powerful faith of the home. That small amount of action represents an amazing volume of power. Look at the men on the wall behind her. Those men are in action. The man's not valuable if he's not doing something. Raising the horn, knighting the man. Look how valuable they are throughout time and history, according to our Lord, to our people. Beautiful. When they are in motion, it conveys an amazing amount of energy. Well, what does the lore say about it? The lore has an interesting tale. When we first begin, we talk about the kidnapping of Ivan. It empowers another. It's explained in the lore. Odin, Honir, and Loki set about to go on a little adventure. They decide to camp for the evening. They slay an ox. They try to start a fire. I don't know if you've ever seen three men try to start a fire, but if they can't get it going, it gets to be interesting. They figure out there's a giant up here, the Aussie. He tells them, I'm the one that's caused the failure in the fire. They come down, come on in. They let the fire get started. They cook the ox. The Aussie decides he's worth a little bit more than the creator of this universe. I'm sure he feels pretty proud that he got that fire going in front of Odin and Honir, who shaped all of this that he might exist in. I'm sure he felt pretty proud of it. But it's still an immature cycle. The Jotuns always represent the shallow, small, immature psyche, the small-minded, emotional-driven, build-up, being the simple-minded, ego-driven individual to becoming something more to shape the world they wish to live in, and they do it. Loki gets a case of he gets chapped because the Aussie decides to eat 2 shoulders and a part of the rear of that ox. So here you have an ox over here. Gungnir always kills what it hits. It always hits what it's aimed at. They don't kill another ox. This immature male psyche, and Loki, this uninspired human intellect, decides in a particularly uninspired course of action to stab the Aussie in the back. So they fly off. He drives, beats him up. So Loki's in kind of a tight spot. So what does he do? He offers something that's not his. He offers a woman, but not just any woman. He offers Idun. And Idun is the goddess who grows the golden apples that keeps the gods young. Now, what do you think happens when something like that happens? Idun as the trophy wife. The Aussie wants her. So Loki lies to her. He takes Bragi's wife out of the woods, and the Aussie carries her away to his castle. Now, that's an interesting story, but how does that help us? How does that help a woman on her spiritual journey? Well, kind of got to understand the aspect of these men who are operating all around you. You better be paying attention to what they're saying and what they're thinking. These two representations of a very base mentality, coupled with a masculine ego, conspire to take another man's wife. This in itself points out a powerful misconception of the role a woman will play in the life of a masculine identity. Now, see, the ego has a daughter who loves him dearly, we might assume. But Loki and the giant eagle have nothing but a powerful and egotistical love for themselves. The giant seeks another woman to grace his tower. It is irrelevant how he must acquire her. He knows full well he has himself the qualities which might match Bryan. Through lies, trickery, and deceit, the masculine offers up something which isn't his to another base and simple masculine image, dressed up in feathers. Think about that. Feeling satisfied that he didn't need to change a thing about himself to be worthy of such a mate, he takes her to his castle. Well, notice that it isn't just the husband who has agreed with the actions of Loki, but it's an action against the divine feminine. All of the Aesir are losing something because of this violation against the divine feminine in their tribe. The entire group of the Aesir are suffering because someone failed to understand how the divine feminine interacts with the rest of them. And for one, it kept them young. But Loki didn't care about that. Now, the second thing to understand about that, for Loki to go get her back, and he is going to get her back, he's got to deal with another divine feminine. He's got to acquire a set of feathers of his own to complete his quest. How embarrassing and completely necessary that he must deal with a mother or sister to repair the damage done. As soon as the Aussie has a woman at home, his trophy wife, that bastard goes fishing. That's how we get her back. Loki waits until Thiazi goes out fishing. She's in a cage in a big castle, and he steals her. Just like the relationships of today, when the obnoxious individual is out fishing, the woman will eat one way or another. It may not be literal fishing. It may be gaming or some very time-consuming hobby, or it may just be eating, sitting on the couch and watching TV. Whatever the case, their minds and thinking process are a long way off. As soon as they feel like they have someone in the house who will take care of everything, like their mother, there is a feeling that their responsibility is handled with regards to the relationship. There's an entire chapter devoted to that. Right now, though, we are dealing with the failing of a father to handle the concept of a woman in his life and the damage it will cause his little girl. That trophy wife is a possession. What is that teaching that daughter? What is that teaching that little girl to think about for her dad? She's going to grow up and expect to be kept in a cage by whatever husband she comes across. You can understand in the Lord is that fathers have this enormous responsibility with what is going to be in a man's life. And we are failing to do that. And it becomes very difficult to see that clearly when you get surrounded by a group of men who are all butthurt and bent out of shape about what they've seen on the evening news or what they've read on social media or anything that builds their ego instead of letting them become something more, so their daughters might become the kind of women who never have to hold their head in their hands while grandma will pass their back. This is the moral compass that I'm talking about with regards to Asatru in this world. It's deep and it's powerful and it's there. See, he has denigrated something which wasn't his to begin with, and it cost the Aussie his life. The burden of a young woman. How did they become just a possession? See that? Loki goes in, disguised as he's wearing Freya or Fregus, Falcon Cloak, whichever story you decide to read. Flies in there, turns Iden into a nut, flies off with her. See, Aussie figures it out. Somebody's got his trophy wife. How many men have you seen come completely unglued with thwarted wanting? That woman, she don't want me anymore, and they lose their flipping minds. All that woman does, she doesn't want to be in a cage anymore. She wants to be free. She wants to find something better. How many civil disturbances you think are on Tulsa County court right now? Kicking in a door, beating some woman up because that woman said, no, I don't want to be with you anymore. For a man who is completely sword and knighting the knight, or when the Lady of the Lake gives King Arthur the sword, that powerful, phallic, masculine symbol. Men are working in the world today expecting some woman to tell them that they're man enough. What does a woman know about conferring masculinity? That is the role of men, to confer masculinity to each other. It is the role of women to help each other, sisters, daughters, mothers, to help them develop that feminine beauty of their own. Men have no role in that, not one bit. But they will trade that shit around like you wouldn't believe. Industry. The tale of Scotty is a fine example of exactly the mindset that creates that environment. See, the careless and selfish attitudes of the father have left the daughter to fend for herself. Her concept of how a man should value her may be somewhat askew. In some cases, it may not be. Furthermore, she has not been given a demonstration of the many-faceted ideal we need to become men and women. In this society today, young men have been given no idea how to handle the delightful task of raising a daughter. His mother may be the only parent in the home. If she is dealing with the issues we've been talking about concerning her father and the men in her life, it's going to be very difficult for a young man to develop a healthy and balanced attitude about himself and the women around him. For the daughter, she may well be left to determine what it is about herself which is beautiful, which represents what it means to be feminine. She may very well be left to her own devices to determine what it is about herself which is valuable to society. The media of this day and age offers an endless litany of what that may be. While the mother struggles to understand why her femininity could not secure a future with the masculine idea she thinks she understands, the daughter is left to her own to figure out what the world values about the feminine in her. And it is not her mind, and it is not the beauty in her heart that they come to figure out. the mother who is dealing with that, she may take another turn in events. She may come across the idea that, like Scotty, she's going to take control of the situation. These women will sometimes become domineering with a bit to control everything around them. Snide comments which ridicule and insult become the mainstay of their vocabulary at church, at the PTA meeting, their home, where they eat, and in the office. C.S. Lewis wrote that controlling women are the sort of women who live for others, and you can tell the others by their hunted expressions. Every aspect of their life is perfectionism. Never considering for a moment that this is not a virtue. If these controlling women who are held up as examples of corporate success, they are well rewarded. And for the moment, it appears that everything is going to be as they think it should be, but the rigid and determined aspect of this type of life has a tendency to squelch the beauty within her, along with her ability. This is sometimes a confusing state of being. On the one hand, there is the possibility of success and social acceptance. On the other hand, there is a denial of a few of the aspects which most profoundly make her a woman. This confusion will sometimes pain in a woman's life, a constant low murmur of background noise in her thought process, which suggests that this isn't really what she wants to be doing. And the pain is multiplied as resentment from people all around her. And at the root of it all is a tiny little thought that maybe she wasn't woman enough. How was she supposed to figure that out? From her father? From her sister? When was she supposed to understand what part of her was supposed to be valued as a woman in this world? That's the burden of a young woman. Scotty is our hero in that. But there's a problem in that. Scotty seeks revenge, she strikes a bargain. She looks at the feet. And it offers an important insight into a modern day problem. All of that is a terribly depressing thought. We are rebuilding from sometimes literally ashes of what our life should be like. In many cases, we're the first of our line. Our fathers, our mothers, our brothers, our sisters. You shouldn't be doing that. You're going to go to hell. Look here, honey, I just want to find a way to love myself. But we don't have the complete picture of what this heathen life is supposed to be like, what this pagan life is supposed to be like. And like most people in today's world, she picks a husband based on one aspect of who that man is. How many times have we seen some girl fall in love with a man because he's of one aspect? He's got a lot of money. He's good looking. Look how built that guy is. He drives a nice car. They will build a relationship or try to build a relationship based on one aspect of understanding that man, based on how much she thinks that aspect will value what she's determined to be the feminine idea that's valuable in this world. There's a recipe for disaster, folks. And yet we see it all around us. This lore, which is thousands of years old, just reminded us of that. Then she saw the feet of one man passing fair and said, I choose this one, and Balder, little. She thought it was Balder. She picked a man on one aspect thinking he's going to be King Kong or Zeus or Hercules or whatever. She gets to pick a man for a husband as a tale within itself. Many women will present themselves and what they believe to be the great feminine aspect of their being to a man based on a short-sighted and shallow understanding of who that man is. The tale uses the idea of his feet, which I suppose is a politically correct thing to do. But today they do so because the guy's hot. Some other nonsense. When a woman bases the ideal of a man she would wish to share her life and womanhood with on just one aspect, it results. And it usually leads to the type of miscommunication based on assumptions and results in a short-lived romance. And yet for thousands of years, women have been told, you're going to have to compromise a little bit, ain't you? But in our lore, we see Sigurd slay the dragon, cross through the flames, and free Brunhild of the burning that confines her feminine beauty. A man that has proven himself, a man that crosses through the flame, a man that cuts through the burning, and allows this divine feminine to show the rest of the world who she is. That's our standard. That should be the standard for heathens. But this warning tale where she makes that compromise, she ends up in a place she doesn't want to be. She's from the mountains, so now she got to live by the sea. Bjorn's in the same boat. He don't want to live in the mountains. He wants to be by the sea. Now, on that kind of interpersonal level, there's a real interesting tale there. But there's also a very interesting thing of this evaporation from the sea and the snow falling on the mountain and the rivers running down. So the beautiful thing about this is our Lord represents works on so many different levels. We have the environmental aspect of it. We have the interpersonal aspect of it. We have a masculine, we have a feminine. We have the tribal aspect of it. We have all of these lessons contained in just that one little sentence. And yet every day I will see somebody say, no, you can't do that. You can't read the Lord. It might mean something. Okay. See, a father will do many things in his life, and the daughter will pick up on what he believes to be important in his wife. She may internalize this along with constant needy suggestions. This will lead to the idea that if the guy is hot or worse, if he is a challenge to be tamed, she might be able to bring her womanly wiles to bear to prove how much of a woman she is. Abounds when the guy doesn't react to her in a way which suggests he values her like her father did or did not. Very little of this is a conscious decision-making process. It is a taught behavior from watching our parents. What we see on TV, what we see our friends do, what we see online. The tale continues to offer us some insight into the confusion of expectation between men and women, which we see every day. He wishes to live by the sea, but she can't stand it. She wishes to live in her father's castle, imagine that, and not being able to overcome the failings of the individuals in the relationships. The idea of being able to compromise on where to live will serve as the breaking point. It's like leaving the lid off the toothpaste. Or the way they eat, or they drink too much. I mean, she has brought him to her father's castle and shown him how she expects him to act. But Njord possesses wealth untold of in those seas of his. Why should he sacrifice that security? She has brought him to her greatest possession by giving of herself and her femininity. The typical expectation is that it is very valuable. Her father acted that way, and he should be willing to make certain sacrifices to keep her happy. How disappointing that he would still feel his greatest security in the treasures he possesses, and not within her. She still needs to know her father treasures her, like the woman he is trying to keep in his castle. This is her understanding of a woman's worth to a man, that it is a treasure, a unique marvel to be cherished and fawned over. It has created a very out of balance perception of worth within her very being. I see women deal with this all the time, and I see men deal with this all the time. I deal with this all the time. Violence against women and the consequences. Breaking point in the relationship. Now all of a sudden what I wanted I don't get to get, and somebody's going to throw a fit about it. Well, now all of a sudden it might be kind of okay to do a little violent, come to show what you made out of. Get that woman in line. Well, you want woman, you're going to have to learn to mind me. I said that in Target one time to her, and it was the funniest, man. That people thought I was the devil.
Pregnant?
Yes, pregnant, very much pregnant. I said it loud, too. But here we have Loki cutting. This is an assault against the divine feminine. This is the uninspired human intellect taking an assault against the wife of the warder of men, this goddess of the harvest, Sif, this golden hair. Everyone gets confused about everything that happens after that. He doesn't just make amends to the divine feminine like before. He's got to take care of the entire tribe. He has assaulted the divine feminine and the entire tribe, his old shield. We get Gungnir, we get Frey Ship, we get Mjolnir. All of these great weapons show up because of this assault against the divine feminine. That is what he owed them. And he tried to cheat his way out of that. He went down there and screwed with the dwarves and stung them in the face and blah, blah, blah. Handle's too short. And they all failed at the end of all things. But in this assault, the way he treats women is really manifest right here. They invariably show the uninspired human intellect is the chief antagonist to what the divine feminine is supposed to be doing. It is always interfering. Sigyn, which means girlfriend, holds this bowl above Loki's head. He is bound with the entrails of his son. And every time his actions result in him getting a little bit of acid on his face, she catches hell for it. How many times have you seen a drunken relationship where some man has to deal with some failure of his own, and the woman lets him just a little bit get through? It comes, and there's a come apart. She sacrifices who she's supposed to become because of the uninspired human intellect, causing pain. There are people who don't like it when I say that. But see, these relationships, what they're supposed to look like, with Sigurd and Brunhild, with Odin and Frigga, with Frey sacrificing that powerful symbol of masculinity to the next generation so he might secure Gerd's hand, to Freya, the single mother of all this. People want to forget that Freya is a single mother. She has 2 daughters, and both of their names mean beautiful. And she still goes on and handles her business like a woman should. She does not let it hinder her from becoming the goddess of folkvang and abundance. It does not hinder her from raising 2 daughters whose name means treasure. Odin, Frigga knows everything that Odin knows. She is the one he asks when he goes to risk his head with a giant. And Sigurd, I've already told you about Sigurd. He slays the dragon. He becomes man enough to walk through the fire. Her father pricked her with a sleep thorn, and she slept. Her father covered up her beauty with a sleep thorn and a burnie, surrounded it by fire to protect it from the world and the world from it. Her father left her in this when Odin. This man walked through the flames, removed the burnie, and woke the divine feminine and brought beauty to the world one more time, including his own. My gosh, these relationships and the value of women is all through our Lord. What they mean, what they're supposed to become. And also it lines up what the men are supposed to be doing. That is defending it with everything they have. See, love is supposed to be shared. You don't hear that very much when you're talking about paganism or heathenry or Asatru. You don't hear people talking about love. You don't hear people say, like Scarlett, Stephanie and I have done our best. We're not perfect, but we have done our best to raise that little girl in a world of love. Make her strong. And see, Odin shares golden cups every day with his daughter Saga, and they discuss the past. See, most of love today consists, like I said, of thwarted wanting. But once we get past some of these egotistical ideas of how important we're supposed to be and how you're supposed to value me and how I'm supposed to value you, and then we'll understand what love's supposed to be and how it works. Love is supposed to be shared. That is how we raise our daughters to understand how a man should value a little girl, how she should be valued as a woman. And it is up to sisters, whether you be related or not, to reach out and offer that support to each other to help move forward in this world. This is the spiritual journey of a woman in an Asatru perspective. That's the first 2 chapters of the book. Stuff that I've read, but I think I'm done on this part right now. So I appreciate everyone coming and listening intently. And, thank you. You may have any questions or want to discuss or tell me I'm wrong or I'm wide open for it.
I do recommend the book. We got it in yesterday. A background that's very scarred and bruised. I've been on both spectrums of the results of that. We do need to support one another. And his book will really help you grow. Just read it. It'll help you understand what that lady sitting next to you in the office might have gone through that makes her act the way she does. Maybe you can open your heart and find healing within yourself in the process. And you ladies know, I'm always cheering you on and telling you, believe in yourself. You're divine, all of you, men and women. You're divine, believe it. Put the crap that you've been told all your lives behind you and find love for yourself first. And once you do that, you get that respect going for you, you exude that. That's what you draw back.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. That's exactly right. Thank you. That's a short little presentation, but we spent about an hour on it, but that, that kind of bravery, I think it always needs to be recognized and applauded. And like I said, I don't think it's any accident that it is women leading the charge back to this idea of wanting to become something more, because there's a lot of pain going on. There's a lot of women in a lot of pain. There's a lot of men in a lot of pain. And we're not allowed to express it. We're not allowed to talk about it. We're supposed to be being bad, hard, Viking warriors, witches, and everything's hunky dory. But the thing about it is this lore is thousands of years old. I haven't created any new emotions, and my grandma didn't create any new emotions. So there's some things there that are the future for my little girl. And I'm gonna make sure that happens. Isn't that right, Squeal?